Welcome back, everyone, to Pandemonium News Series. We're going to do a post-mortem on PMGC 2024. It did happen a couple of weeks ago as we finally got our new champion, our new global champion of the year. And it's going to be, of course, D+. We're going to rewind it back to the beginning of the event. And Max, I know we want to talk about groups initially, but what we're going to talk about off the bat, and he has no idea this is happening, the group draw. Because you and I did go to China. We went to Shanghai to actually go film the group draw. And one of the funniest things that happened during the group draw that got, cut out was you dropping one of the balls.
Yeah, that was there was one ball in that specific group. I don't remember.
Okay, I should probably say that. It's not like anything was changed. It was only one ball in there and he tried to get all cocky, like, ooh, and then he drops it and rolls across the room.
So that was why do you have to bring that up? But yeah, unfortunately, I got a little bit confident I was going to mess around to be funny on camera, and it did not work out.
I mean, it was funny.
It was fun. Anyway, Group Yellow, Jason.
Yeah, Group Yellow.
Which teams are we happy about? Okay, no, to bring it back seriously, Group Yellow, group stage of PMGC 2024. A big step up that I was really happy with. We have to say Team Spirit, Jason. I think you would be in agreement there. Team Spirit, I've been very, and I mean very critical of the IGLing style of Kitsune for the longest time. But they actually started speeding up their rotates now, and it just sets up perfectly Effectum Nomi in such a strong way that they just were top fraggers almost every single stage of this tournament. Well, Group Yellow and then finals because they skipped last chance on survival. But the IGLing style, for me, that was the biggest improvements we needed to see from Spirit, and we finally got it in this event.
I think what's interesting about them is that we did hear from Kitsune being interviewed at the grand finals that him and Maddox still kind of co-lead together. And they try to set up Nomi and Effect the best they possibly can. What's interesting to me is it's like, why couldn't you do this in G Gladiators? Like, why were your rotations so slow? Why are they just now all of a sudden becoming fast? Or at least at a normal pace, I guess I should say, not necessarily too fast. But for this team, more importantly, it was also like they came out the gate strong and they maintained being strong. And that's not really the Kitsune I'm used to, right? That's not the G Gliders I'm used to of the olden times where they would always start slow and they'd really come into their own throughout the entire event. We're going to talk about another team, though, that really stepped up, Max, that I think no one out there predicted, no one out there expected. Major Pride. Where did this team come from, man? We saw them in CSA. The amount of times we saw them get into late game with like 1 or 2 players, and that was it. Or they get into late game with 4 players, they do a stupid play, and they lose players. Like, for them to come in 4th place, just 6 points shy of Alpha 7, to get directly to the grand finals, I think was ridiculous.
I'm kind of getting excited for Major Pride in 2025, to be honest. After that kind of performance, I hope they don't build a too big ego off the back of that, Jason, because they played really well, but like, come on, let's calm down. It was not insane enough for you to get a big ego and call teams like, I don't know, Alpha 7 overrated. Okay, Doc? But no, yeah,
it's never going to live that down.
Never going to live that down. We're going to be like in PMGC season 300 and we're still going to bring it up. But no, I think Major Pride here has some really good plays. Beckham in particular, I think, really embraced the scout role, especially playing rooftop positions very heavily, and I think he was very impactful off the back of that. So good job, Major Pride. More of that, please, for next year. But I want to highlight one more team for Group Yellow. I know we're taking a lot of time for this group, but there's so many interesting things happening there. But it has to be Mirren Sejong. I think for the first time for these players and his team to actually play outside of South Korea and get these kind of results was very impressive with their send it center and just kind of hold down the fort kind of play style. It was great. They just didn't adapt quickly enough. I think if they can take those kind of learnings next time they go to global, if they do, hopefully they do, they could hopefully qualify and make it the entire way. So Mirren Sejong, just like Major Pride, for me, a very, very big surprise for this group.
As a last note for them, to be fair as well, they were the last team to qualify for the league stage, and to see them be able to have performance like that with not too much time to prepare, I think is also testament to like, hey, pretty damn decent team. And obviously we did get to see South Korea and how strong they could be over the course of PMGC. But as we move into Group Red here, one team that was quite a surprise. Actually, I'll start at the top. I was going to start at the bottom this time and really, hammer it home to you, but you already know who I'm going to talk about. Navi, man, we got to see Lemon in CSA in spring, and then we got to see him go to Navi, and they just smashed the competition. They finished out 1st place, and I feel like this is kind of like you calling it. You did say, like, we're going to see Lemon on a better team at some point for sure.
Yeah, he's just such a strong player, and I think them sort of way we see him in the hot drops in CSA. This guy can fight, and we're just going to take
he can trash talk.
Yeah, and they have Asa, which, as we know, is the coolest man ever in PUBG Mobile Esport.
He's smiley man,
a chill little guy. No, realistically, Navi, I love that they came into this lobby, and at least what stood out to me, Jason, is that they were not scared of the lobby. They were like, yeah, these are the best teams in the world, but we don't care. We're going to play our own game. If we see you and we have to fight you for a strong position or possibly for the win, we are going to send it. We are not going to play scared on the edge of the circle or anything. And that is the play style that realistically wins you tournament. Sure, this was just a group stage, but it was so effective. They directly qualified into the grand finals. So I think a lot of the individual players on Na'Vi next year, I don't know if they're going to stick together or not. Hopefully they do. But they're going to be big names for 2025. I'm definitely sure about that.
Well, I don't want to throw it to the next team. I want to give you a chance to bring a team up if you wanted to, but I do have one more in mind that I want to touch on at least.
You want to talk about I8, don't you?
Bro, yeah, I8, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man, like, I was the first person to talk trash about I8 in spring. Like, I'm not even going to deny that. I talk so much trash about this team because if you're a big name like Crypto and you don't play well as a team, then you're going to get a lot of trash talk against you. But to see Phallic on the team and him finally have the ability, well, he was on the team before, but have the ability to finally show what he can do as being like the star player of this roster, and Uzum having a team who kind of listens to his calls and follows him, I'd say the performance was pretty damn good. And I'm kind of surprised to see them kind of break up as a team after this, because I8 showed some real promise in the fall season of CSA and in the league stage.
I have a question for you, Jason. What do you think helped I8 do better in the group stage than, like, out of 2 points? No, you have or Phallic just popping off and being absolutely crazy in a game, or IQ not nading himself and his teammates. Which one helped the most?
Both. both accounts. You know, to be fair, I don't feel like Phallic actually played as well individually as he did in CSA. Well, okay, not as well individually. I feel like it was harder for him to stand out as much as he did in CSA because the lobby is so much more difficult. I still feel like he played really well. But I feel like IQ and Naki were finally able to step up as well and join Phallic and help him out, whereas it was more Phallic doing the heavy lifting in CSA.
Yeah, it took a little bit longer for Naki to align himself properly in PMGC, but it was way more of a team effort. I think it's definitely worth saying for I8. And if we can see more of that in CSA, that'll be great, fantastic. But the weird thing, I do have to bring this up before we go to the next group, possibly. Then they just dropped the team, and then they pick up Crypto again. I don't know, man. I'm a little bit confused. I think I had a fantastic team that could win you CSA next year, and they dropped them. So yeah, it kind of shuts down the storyline that could have been amazing for next year, but it's just not going to happen.
4 thrives. I mean, we got 3/4 of the team still there.
Yes. I don't know what I8 was doing.
move out of the way, I8. I'm looking at 4 thrives now, to be honest, when it comes to Pakistan. I did quickly want to touch on Ultra Ego. I just in terms of, like, I think underperformance for them, unfortunately, but they did have like kind of an underperformance in the second half of the year. IHC, I feel like that was just their performance. It's not underperformance, not overperformance, just them, unfortunately, as we saw throughout CSA. I'm not sure if there's any other teams out there you want to talk about in particular before we move to green.
For this one, I would have to say Furia. I think that we had some other Brazilian teams that we were expecting more from. Mainly we're looking at Furia, looking at Team Liquid and Alpha 7. And actually, Furia didn't do well. Team Liquid didn't even qualify to the grand finals in the end. Yeah. So, yeah, I'd have to say Furia was a bit disappointing knowing how big and how strong of a region Brazil is in this esports.
Okay. Well, Group Green. Obviously, we saw Brute Force come in first place. Unfortunately, we're not able to go play in the grand finals. I'm actually really curious to see what they could have done if they did make it into this one. But I feel like this was kind of, besides like Influence Rage maybe, there wasn't really anything that kind of stood out to me as like, oh, this is a massive upset or a team massively overperforming than what we kind of expected.
Yeah, I don't have too many big surprises here. I think the Vicious were very silent. They got maybe a big pop-off game here and there.
They weren't, so they were, I think if it was group stage and not survival, I'm thinking they were like hovering around 4th place for a very long time in their group. And then they slowly just dwindled down as we played more and more of these days, if I remember correctly.
They had a hot start with some early games, and then it fell out, and then they would only get one good game every once in a while, and then just kind of fizzle out. That was unfortunate for them, but it went to show that the Vicious had the fragging potential to maybe win you some games, but the inconsistency on especially the different maps, they wouldn't do well on all maps, just some maps really hurt them in the long run. But one thing we have to highlight that I found very interesting was Team Liquid. Erangel, horrible Erangels. And then on Miramar, just all-in damage control. Entire time on Miramar.
They're never going to live that down. Poor Knight, damage control.
It's going to be a meme until like a few years. So yeah, Team Liquid, if we see good presence on Erangel, they are a strong team. But right now, Miramar is the only map that gives them points. So that was very odd because Miramar, like, sure, it's good, but Erangel is your bread and butter. You want to do well there. And they were just invisible on their map. It felt like very odd.
Well, I mean, we're talking about invisible. 4MV were pretty damn invisible after their second game of the group where they got 22 eliminations in a first place. They just kind of fell off the face of the planet, which we did see kind of similar in the grand finals. But we can move on. We can move into the survival stage now, I'd say, where if we're talking about maybe underperforming, you know, I would say like Vampire, unfortunately, coming 21st place. I8, I hoped for a little bit more out of. They only got themselves 9 points on their first day of play, which is kind of surprising. I had higher hopes for Tiamba as well, to be fair. And I think for the teams that didn't qualify, I think those are like the ones that really stand out to me.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. For me, the biggest one was Vampire Esport because we know this team. They stuck together for so long, right? And they...
Not anymore.
I know it's a bit rough to say. Jason, they were doing nothing. I cannot recall one game that was even remotely interesting coming out from Vampire. Like, not only here, also during the group stage. Nothing was of interest to me.
Bro, they had the lowest points in a day.
Yeah.
3.
What was it? That 2, 3?
3 points for Vampire.
Bro, what are you doing? Yeah, I mean, we've seen recently, most of the players are leaving or like some are going as content creators.
Yeah.
So they're clearly recreating the team from like to hopefully have a good base for next year.
They still have their core 3, right? I think it's just Stone really coming out. We didn't see Fluke play. We didn't see Ravenclaw play. Stone, who I believe was in-game leading, he hit with him gone. So we're interested to see who they replace him with to in-game lead for the team.
But like some of those players, like talking about Ravenclaw, he was a key component for them winning PMWI like 2 years ago, and they did it twice.
But
so
yeah,
I don't know.
Newsy Schweppes
I don't know
and
how
Tony
that's
K.
going to impact it. Yeah, I mean, Tony K is still an insanely good player, right, and stuff. But again, as of right now, Vampire Esport, with how they perform, then they're clearly restructuring themselves in the background. Big question mark for next year. I don't know what we're going to see, but I'm excited to see what the final roster is going to look like at the end.
Yeah, well, we are already, 10, 11 minutes into this one, so quickly just rush through the last chance. This was just tough on all accounts. I mean, obviously, you can't forget about, was it the 98-point day out of Falcons on the second day of play to get themselves into the grand finals? We were looking at that, like, more of that, please, into the grand finals, which we unfortunately didn't see. But that's where we started to see, Incilio step up, Void Donkey, the Vicious step up, and then, of course, 4MV just getting through because Brute Force couldn't play. But looking down at the teams who didn't qualify, I feel like we're kind of okay for the most part with like those teams not making it through. I don't think there's anything too unexpected. Maybe Major Pride with how well they played in survival and how well they played in
Actually,
group.
no. I would have to say IWNRX for me. IWNRX was going to be the team that I was thinking there's no way they don't qualify. That was the only team actually of all the teams that didn't make it that I was thinking there's no way they don't qualify. And they just stopped being aggressive for some reason. I'm looking right now, they had 32 eliminations and they were so low. And when we look back at IWNRX and some of the players, especially Z-Wolf, right? The big standout point of this squad is how they get so many eliminations in their matches, and here they did nothing.
Yeah.
I think it's an issue of this group was so stacked, and when you have a 98-point day from Falcons, there's not many other points for the other teams to pick up. But yeah, I think IWNRX had more to offer, and I think they just had a really bad time here. But I'm not really too scared. I know they can come back stronger next year, so it was just a bad time there in particular.
Okay. What about grand finals? I mean, I know in one of our other videos, our 2024 retrospective, we really did hammer home about the grand finals, but I think we can give like a quick little TLDR of how the whole finals went.
Yeah. Wait, we're real quick. Last point and last chance. I want to say big step up from Regman Tari and Void Donkey ID. Like that was kind of like the final points. Big improvement from them throughout the league stage. But I mean, yeah, talking about then the teams improve. Regman Karabrak getting second place. And we have to, again, bring up this point. I think we mentioned it many times on the show and another video already, Jason. But the fact that Kimis can't play, Razy runs in a wall or something, breaks his arm, and is like, we need to get an emergency sub. And they pick up Sarah. There's clearly communication issues because they all speak Turkish. Salas speaks a little bit of English. And I mean really a little bit. He can say push a compound, and that's it. And Sarah just does not understand what's going on. And yet they get second place.
Yeah.
Barely missing out by 2 points. That's one of the most unexpected storylines we had, and yet it just worked out. So big thumbs up to you guys because I did not expect it after that change.
Let me ask you this question, and for you viewers as well, to make sure you guys answer the comments. If Razy was playing instead of Sarah, do you think they would have won? Or do you think they would have been able to maintain this kind of performance that they put on? Or do you think because Sarah's on the team, they're able to place this high? It's a very tricky question.
I would say if Razy was there, they would still be able to make it to this point. I think they would still could have been like
Sarah,
top 3, maybe win it.
Like, did anything in particular that like helped them?
Oh, he was impactful, but he was not a standout player. It's not like Sarah was getting 2 times more eliminations than the rest of the team, right? I don't think that was happening. I would theorize because Sarah is an IGL, maybe could also have some impact when it comes to rotates, but again, communication issues. So I don't know. So I don't know how impactful Sarah was, but I do think the Razy we've seen in PMGC multiple times, like just pop off. And I think he did a 1v3 scenario versus a PL team 2 years ago to qualify to the grand final. So I think they could have still made it if Razy was playing. Yeah, that doesn't seem too far-fetched.
Well, let's know your thoughts in the comments. I don't know how it would have played out, perfectly honest with you. I'm actually wondering maybe the inability to communicate made Silas have to think a little bit more about some of the decisions they were going to make, which potentially could have, he treated it like a double point event.
Exactly.
Looking down the list, I mean, Enigma Galaxy, again, as we did say in the other video, that was a massive surprise between them and Twisted Minds. We did not expect this to be the stronger team of the breaking apart of Enigma Galaxy, where they ended up finishing 3rd overall. And as we did say, they're going to be sticking together as a team coming into next year. So I really want to see this team push it even further. Influence Rage, though, to be the Brazilian team to place the highest, I think that was kind of unexpected when you have Alpha 7 playing off the back of winning PMWC. We thought Alpha 7, I think everyone out there thought Alpha 7 would win this event.
Yeah, you have so many good Brazilian teams, and we were looking at, your Alpha 7s, your Team Liquid, your Furia these are the big names. They should do well for Brazil. But no, you had The Vicious doing good every once in a while. And then you have Influence Rage just popping the hell off. Like, I don't know what the hell these guys were on. But they were just having some great moments. Yeah, Demonord also having some good moments every once in a while, just getting some great clutch moments during the league stage and some decent moments also in the finals.
I think it was Diego's face. His like anger face that everyone was like afraid of him. We always talked about when we saw the shots.
He's a scary, scary man. But yeah, I kind of now looking at how good these teams did, looking at PMSL Americas next year, are we going to see an Alpha 7 win? Are we going to see a Team Liquid win? Because looking at how these teams were playing and how good they were playing, especially, we could have any of those teams win PMSL Americas, and now I'd be, seems about right. Even the underdog team, right, talking about Twisted Minds Brazil, they could also take it home, even though they didn't qualify for this, unfortunately. Well, they did technically, but they couldn't make it. So, I mean, Brazil's going to be weird next year. Damn.
Vicious next year, if they stay together as a team, like, could this be Latin America actually being the region to surpass or to be the top dog in Americas? Like, that's even obviously a potential, which we would never have seen. I don't think we've ever really seen a team from Latin America perform this well. I mean, maybe Queso way back in the day. I can't remember the top of my head, but Queso was only the only team Queso were Latin Americans. So they were the only team we ever really did talk about when it came to LATAM.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I need to get more into LATAM. I haven't seen it for a while for Team Queso. But I'm going to bring up on I think the last point we might have here, Jason, unless you have other stuff, which is South Korea. We talked a lot about, your Miran Sejong, how they were doing DRX, but D plus Kia was so consistent on all the maps towards the end. It was just Miramar early on where they were getting a majority of their points. And at the end, they started really maintaining consistent points over on Erangel 2, which is really what secured the trophy for them. And then that last game we're not going to dive too much into that last game, but D plus Kia knew what they were given. They were like, we are given a golden opportunity with that island finish next to Impala where we drop. We're going to make full use of that. And even then, there was almost not quite enough. So D plus. Again, Kalaris keeps talking about South Korea and stuff and how they're the South Korean overlords. But yeah, it was truly the case in the finals here. It was so crazy to have that game go down.
And I wonder what would have happened if it wasn't a finish on the island. Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I don't think anyone out there can tell you what would have happened. Would D Plus have still been the champion? Would Ragnum Kari have stepped up? Would Enigma Galaxy potentially been the team? There's a lot of questions out there, and unfortunately, I just don't really have any answers for it, Max.
I have no idea, to be honest. Like, it's I would love to calculate the odds that we had that kind of circle finish, but if it went anywhere else, it could have been any of those teams.
Johnny Allen.
Oh, no, he would love to calculate that. I don't think it's even possible to. I don't know.
You wish you had these calculating skills.
I don't even want to start thinking about it because it hurts my brain already, Jason. It's real tough.
All right. Well, you know what? We'll wrap it up here, Max. This has been our little breakdown of PMGC. We hope you guys enjoy the event because honestly, the best event of the year, the best event probably ever in PUBG Mobile Esports history. But of course, I am looking forward to next year. We have Uzbekistan, we have Thailand, we have Riyadh yet again. I want to see what's going to happen in this next year, not to mention with some format changes as well. But hope you guys have enjoyed this little breakdown. We'll see you guys next time, though, for some more PUBG Mobile action here on
Anemonium_news. I was a bit slow. Sorry.
You said underscore.